guys, welcome to the video. Today I am joined by Jana on the ground in Ukraine. Today my goal here is to talk to her about what her life is like, to get to know her a little bit more, to give you guys a firsthand perspective of what life is like right now inside Ukraine, and just talking about everything and kind of see where the conversation leads. I think that content like this is incredibly important with all the misinformation going out there in the world, all the questions that we have. Who better to talk to than somebody actually experiencing this? So, Jana, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Let me start with the obvious question. And how are you today? How are you doing?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I feel that it's my mission right now to give an account of what we are experiencing and be as truthful as possible, because the world needs to know what is going on, just to make an informed decision about which side to choose and who to believe and where to go from here. So it's very important for us not to keep quiet right now, because our country needs that. And yeah, sorry for being so lofty, but it's the time like that for us right now. Today I'm doing well, more or less okay. We're all stressed out, exhausted physically and emotionally. It's been 3 days in a row that air sirens go off at 2 or 3 a.m. And we have to get up from our beds. We've forgotten what it's like to sleep undressed or in nightgowns or anything. We go to bed fully dressed because we need to be able to get up any moment. So we get up at like 2, 3 a.m. and go to basements, shelters, bathrooms for those who can't, for some reason, hide in safer places. And all these 3 days, the air sirens won't go off for like 4 or 5 hours, so we have to wait for that, and to wait for an airstrike or a rocket hitting your house any moment. It's very emotionally and physically draining, so we're all sleep deprived here. We've lost weight. It's like there's this joke that on the day of our victory, we're going to go to the parade thing, but really happy. So that's like a short description of how I'm doing today.
So many questions for you, Jana, but I want to start with, especially for me and my audience, I want to get to know you a little bit better, right? So we spoken to you before, but only in one context. So I want to know a little bit about you as a person, maybe before this all started, So if you're willing to share, where are you from? How long have you lived there? Where are you at in life? What were your personal goals and aspirations, and how has this changed given, what's happened the last few weeks?
That's a good question. Well, I'm going to turn 29 in 2 weeks, and I was born in Ukraine. My whole life I've lived here, and I only went away for an extended period of time when I was 15. I studied in the USA for a year in the state of New York. So I returned a real patriot from there in the best sense of this word. I really started to appreciate my country because the saying that you really start appreciating something when you lose it, like not exactly lose it, but when it's out of sight for a long time.
Yeah.
And before this war, I had a pretty successful and happy life. I lived, I hope I still do, in Kharkiv or Kharkov. You must have heard about this city if you follow the news from my country. My job was there, and I have an apartment I dare to say that I have an apartment there because I can't be sure that it's still there and that I would ever be able to go back there. But um, my parents helped me to buy this apartment, and we had been collecting money for it for a very long time, and I put my heart into decorating it, into furnishing it. So I was a manager. I still am at my job, and we had wonderful colleagues. I had so many friends. Again, it's hard to refrain from using the word, all the verbs in the past tense, because what happened just cut our lives into two parts. Um, so, as for my aspirations, I wanted to leave. I just wanted to be happy. I wanted to get a driver's license. I wanted to buy a car. I wanted to go and study to be a psychologist, and that's just something that I had wanted for a very long time. And I'm not saying that I would choose it to be my main profession, but it's just something that maybe I would enjoy doing in my free time. Oh, who knows? Um, Also, I had my personal life, and I'm not going to go into that, but um, I would maybe even have gotten married if it hadn't been for this war. Um, but now uh, it's been put on hold, and um, a totally different reality has surfaced. Um,
Has that new reality started to sink in, do you feel like? Did it take a while to sink in? Was it the day of the invasion that you said, did it immediately kind of all sink in that life was never going to be the same? Or is that still kind of a reality that's unfolding, day to day?
I still can't say that I fully realize that this whole thing is happening. It happened so abruptly and so um, I, there is no word to describe what happened there. It's just it's so unfair. It's so unjustified, and this war is so unprovoked that I might even dare say that it's ridiculous, because nobody knows like the motives behind that, and there is no way in the world that anything could justify this war. It's 19 days in, and I still can't believe it's happening. Like most of the time, we try to be strong. We try to move on and do whatever we can to help our country and our people. But in sometimes you just sit there and you stare at the wall and realize that this surreal reality just can't be there. You can't uh, you expect like for the first couple of days I would seriously walk around and just uh, what's the word for it when you try to
Pinch
um,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, to bitch myself
Pinch yourself. Yeah, yeah. That is, yeah.
to wake up, um, because this is so unreal. And for the first couple of days, I would also think that maybe I'd lost my mind, maybe I'd gone crazy, and this is all just happening in my mind. And it would have been so much better if that were true. But now this realization is coming more and more that it's a real thing, and it's a challenge that um, no not every person can endure, and I don't know why it happened to us, but it's now something that we have to deal with, and we have to get out of it as winners. There is no other choice, and there is no other way. So we have to do whatever is possible um, to defeat this evil that has come
Are
on our
you
land.
Obviously, I totally agree with you. You know, it's hard to even put in words how me being so far away from this has it's almost frustrating to deal with in a way, because I want to do everything I possibly can, you know. Uh Not just this crisis, but whenever innocent children, innocent people are dying at the hands of tyrants, or the decisions of a few autocrats, madmen, whatever you want to say, it just feels like this can't be life, right? This can't be reality. How is this okay? How do we let this happen? And now the refugee crisis, which you know mentioned, is unlike anything we've ever seen in this short amount of time. You said, you know, less than 20 days, almost 3 million by the time this video goes live. People, it's just unreal. I want to stay with kind of the beginning here for a second, Jana, and ask you, uh, the days leading up to the invasion. Kharkiv, where you're from, was one of the first cities bombed, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, you already said that it took you by surprise, and no one thought this would be reality. Were you given any time to prepare? Was this a conversation you guys were having with your friends, your loved ones, your families? Are you leaving? Are you staying? Should we stock up on food? You know, talk to me a little bit about those conversations, I guess, the days leading into this, and then the days after it started.
So I guess the first time that we became really alerted about the geopolitical situation in our country was around the end of November or December, something like that. And I before that, I'd never been into politics that much. But then when you read all the news, when you surface internet, you can't stay away from some things that just that scream at you. So we were aware that Russian troops were gathering near our border, and they claimed that those were like trainings, and that they were not going to attack us. They said explicitly, some of their officials in their interviews, when asked if they were going to attack our country, they said explicitly that we had no intention whatsoever of doing so. And then like a month leading up to the invasion, which happened on the 24th of February, everyone was talking about that. Everyone was following the news. And we, on the surface, we all seemed like optimistic that it would never happen. And I talked to my mom, and just to give you a background on my life there, I only have like my family is just my mom. My father died 3 months ago of after coronavirus, and
So sorry to hear that. So sorry.
yeah, thank you. And my mom is someone who is really dear to me, and I can't imagine my life without her. So we would speak a lot, and of course, we discussed this subject. And I asked her to prepare as much as she could for anything that would follow. And of course, she stocked up on food, and she had cash. And as we know, younger people tend to be a little less a little more careless about things like that. We tend to be more optimistic. The thing is that living in in the world of the 22nd century, in the world of progress and all this prosperity, we want to believe that such atrocities will never happen. So unlike my mom, I hadn't prepared for that. So I remember when it happened, the very first day. We had there was this situation with the Olympics going on, and they ended on the 20th of February. And before that, I had heard the rumors that if Russia was about to attack, they would do it after the Olympics. And it happened just that way, but we were thought like 21st, and we already we lost sleep and appetite in those days, like after the 20th. But then the 23rd came, and we thought, well, nothing, no war is taking place right now, so maybe it will just pass. Um, and then on the 24th, it was 5 a.m. In the morning when we woke up to bomb explosions, and later I found out that it were the five biggest cities that also woke up to those explosions. Um, and it was really, we were really unprepared for that, and we all woke up. I didn't know what to do. I packed up my things. I didn't know who would help me to get to my mom's, because I knew that I didn't know what to do further, but the only thing I knew is that I needed to get to my mom's in any way I could. Um, so I packed up everything that just was on my way, and when I arrived home, I found out that I had packed like four swimsuits, but no socks, no sweaters. It's like when you are in panic, in a rush,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
realize what you're actually doing. But that day, um, most of my friends and colleagues tried to get out of Kharkiv, because we knew, we had been told that our city would be one of the main targets if they actually attack, because of its proximity to the border,
Yeah.
and its proximity to the two eastern regions that the Russian troops came to liberate and defend. I can't even pronounce these words because they are such a hypocrisy. Um, so um, our city is actually suffering the most right now, because originally it was the first capital of Ukraine, and it is the city of Russian speaking people.
Yeah.
And when I came to Kharkiv 10 years ago to study in the university, and I spoke Ukrainian. I've been speaking Ukrainian my whole life, because our country historically has different regions, and people speak Ukrainian as much as Russian. And in my region, like people speak Ukrainian. There was no um, difference. There used to be no difference, because we understand each other perfectly well. It doesn't matter it's Ukrainian or Russian. I didn't feel any like oppression in Kharkiv for speaking Ukrainian, and of course it was. Like when people first got to know me, it was a little bit strange for them that I spoke Ukrainian being in Kharkiv, but
Hmm.
it was just like my life position, and they respected that. There were no problems with that. But my initial point was that my city suffers the most because probably, not probably, most likely, the invaders assumed that Kharkiv would join Russia gladly with open arms right from the first day of their attack. And it's not what happened. We are not going to give up our city, because it's a part of Ukraine. It has always been, and we'll never welcome those liberators. So they're trying to suppress the city. They keep bombing it. They keep sending airplanes and throwing rockets at the city. And more than 400 apartment buildings have already been ruined, and so many people have been killed there. The city is just being erased from the face of the earth, and that's the punishment for not giving in and for not abandoning the country and not joining Russia.
Obviously, the bravery of your president Zelensky and the spirit of the Ukrainian people has been, shared and contagious in many ways all over the world. A tremendous amount of support, rightfully so. Uh, do you think has that temperament only grown stronger over the last 20 days? what is the temperament on the ground there? As you mentioned, you're in the northeastern city, close to the Russian border anyway, a lot of native Russian speakers there. Uh, is there anybody who's just at this point who's like, let's not fight anymore, let's like join Russia? Or is again, that pride, that bravery, has it only grown stronger?
People are different. They always have been, and it's in human nature to be
Of course.
picky, to be in some places not really welcoming towards other people's views. But what I'm trying to say is that maybe in the first days of the invasion, some people, like it's a very small amount, but number, like maybe 2-3%
Yeah.
would would welcome Russia as as their saviors. But as this war goes on, and the more suffering we take, and the more ruinings they do, the less, the more we understand that it's something that we'll never forgive,
Yeah.
and no people would join them ever
Yeah. It's
in my country. And the thing is that there used to be no problem with speaking Russian, or I don't know, listening to Russian podcasts, or sharing some cultural art things before that. And now they made it so that a lot of my colleagues and friends have have shifted to speaking Ukrainian, because we can't continue speaking the language of the people who came to kill us so
right.
bluntly.
I was gonna say
The-
that's the crazy irony of this is even the people that may have had sympathies towards Russia originally, even that small percentage, now they're disenfranchised, because if you want to win people over, the last thing you want to do is murder them, destroy their homes, destroy their cities, destroy their history, as you said. So totally understand why that would be the case. Seems intuitive, right?
yeah, yeah. So, and one of the excuses that they used for invading our country is that they wanted to strengthen Russian position on the cultural and economical field on the international cultural and economical fields. But what they did is completely opposite. Like everyone is banning them right now, and they are seeing so much hostility
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Ukrainians, that they demanded that our country, one of their demands is that we make Russian our second national language, and if there was a small percentage of possibility that we would consider this in the past, now it's out of question,
Yeah.
because like
Of
for
course.
obvious reasons.
Of course. So, getting back to your daily life, do you? I mean, obviously, you have internet right now. Do you have? Are you? How difficult is communication? Are you able to even go outside where you're currently at right now, get fresh air, go to the store to restock on anything? Are there any stores open? Is it hysteria outside? If you look out your window, what do you see?
Where I am right now, it's relatively quiet yet. But what they've been doing for the past couple of days is basically showing us that there is no safe place, no safe spot in our country. They've started bombing us on the west, which is really close to the border of the
Poland,
NATO
yeah.
countries. Yes, so sometimes it feels like they don't have any like rational sense in them. Like they do the things that no person in their right mind would ever do. But it's just a rhetorical remark. So it's relatively quiet here, but seeing how they changed their tactics into trying to scare regular civilian people and bomb their houses and trying to just murder just Ukrainian people. You never know if your region is going to stay safe for much longer. But yeah, it's impossible to just stay inside all the time, even though I know that some of my friends are still in Kharkiv and they've been hiding in basements for 19 days already, and they can't go out because if they do, there is a danger of just being killed by shelling and shootings, whatever. Here we still can walk. We actually can go out. We can get some food, some water, and we try not to panic. But there are still lines in supermarkets, and there are some supermarkets that are empty. It's just empty shelves. They don't get restocked because a lot of deliveries were coming from Kharkiv here, and yeah, so this is our life right now, and
Do,
my mom and I we go to her office just to get some fresh air, and it takes like 15-20 minutes to get there, but we always try to hurry because you never know, because there's always a chance that you'll be on your way and an air siren will go off and you will have to find some place to hide.
yeah.
So yeah, it's our reality right now, and I actually get this survivors syndrome a lot of times because I'm not in those hot spots, because sometimes I get this feeling that I should be uh, in my apartment building, in my apartment, and be just stay home and experience whatever is happening there. But then I realized that my place is here, is with my mom.
Absolutely. And it's this is I totally understand, what you're talking about in terms of like survivor's guilt and whatnot, but it's also something that, this is life and death, it's not something to chance it, as you obviously know. So, I mean, even beyond the devastation, the death and everything, happening there, which is just difficult to comprehend at times, even mentally, psychologically, it's going to have just an unbelievably profound effect that will like last your entire lives, which is just so sad to think about. Uh, there are just no words, There's no words to say. There's a lot of charities out there. You suggested a few to help you guys: Direct Relief, Voices of Children. Do you see any non-Ukrainians at all there helping, in Kharkiv or anywhere else? Have any humanitarian efforts, Doctors Without Borders and whatnot, have they been able to get in there and help people? Or is it right now kind of feel like you guys are totally on your own on the ground?
Right now, I'm living in a very small town, and it's been pretty much blocked from the rest of Ukraine. And we don't have like we have refugees from other parts of the country here,
Hmm.
but no non-Ukrainians here. But what I hear from my close friends is they get a lot of humanitarian aid, and a lot of trucks with food, clothes, other supplies keep coming to the country. And we had official statements from our government that with all this humanitarian aid, we have been stocked with whatever we will need for the next couple of months, so we don't have to worry about that. But there are still regions in Ukraine that are suffering the most, and you must have heard about
Mariupol.
Mariupol.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually have colleagues who are stuck there. These people, it's just excruciating to just think about what they are going through there, because it's been like 12 or 13 days of their
They're under
block.
siege. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and we have been trying to organize humanitarian corridors to get people out of there for so many days. And when it seemed that we had an agreement with the other side, they would always break this ceasefire agreement and start shooting. And so many civilians have already died there. And it's just, it's such an inhuman thing to say that that scene uh, with the hospital with pregnant women, that it was set up, it had been set up. It's just, it's so ridiculous. I get filled with so much anger just saying this, because we know that Russian propaganda made it seem like that it was an unreal thing, and that there were actresses, and that there were our troops just hiding there, and that's why they had bombed us. But I actually know people who are there and who have seen it with their own eyes. Um, and today we heard the news that one of the women there that had been evacuated from that hospital died with an unborn child. So it's just an unimaginable thing that they're going through. And it's been a tradition now to cry at least like 5, 6 times a day these days. But today I cried the first time when I heard that 160 cars have managed to leave Mariupol today, and people are trying to get out of there finally. Because the stories that you hear of their survival there, that they don't have food,
No.
they mount snow to get water, they didn't have electricity, heating, whatever, for the last 13 days. It's just very hard to imagine.
It is unfathomable to even try to comprehend what they're going through, especially as you mentioned Mariupol. I've just been following that every day, and it's just it's beyond traffic. As a parent myself, I can't imagine the pain that a parent must go through, that anybody must go through, but especially with little kids. They don't understand. It's gonna be absolutely unbelievably heartbreaking to deal with that. And it's just there's no words. So in terms of where things are right now on the ground there, most Ukrainians that I speak to are still calling for a no-fly zone. Certainly Zelensky is calling for a no-fly zone by US, UN, whomever. The counter to that plea has been that it will escalate into a nuclear war. Someone who's there, obviously, how do you feel about that? What do you think that the West in general ought to be doing, if anything? What do you think about the global response thus far?
That's the toughest question right now. I was the one who also made posts tagging NATO and all the responsible officials to close our sky. As someone who loves her country to death, I think that they need to take urgent measures to protect our country, because they needed to take them long before Russia's invasion, because there is no way that higher officials, politicians didn't see that coming, and all those sanctions should have been applied a long time ago to not let them
Sure.
do it. But as someone who tries to look at a situation from all angles, I understand actually why they hesitate to do that, because the Russian politicians are so mad and crazy, and you can't be sure that they don't hit that button and actually use this nuclear weapon, and it's then a threat to the whole world. And it's a horrible thing to say that they are putting our lives at stake, or maybe they don't realize the scale of the danger that we are going through right now. It's just that it's in my nature to believe in the best in people, so I really hope that they have really good reasons not to have done it by now, but they have to hurry with at least delivering the warplanes to us, giving us whatever aid they can so that we can defeat this monster and protect our people, because people need to stop dying. It's
I hear
I
you. I hear you. I mean, to
it's all political games, and I'm not an expert in that.
yeah.
Um, but yes, I do realize that if they closed our sky, we would manage to clear our lands here on our own. But I do understand also that it's not that easy.
And that's the shame of everything, is that they are not just playing games with your lives, but they're playing games with the fragility of humanity in general, right? Because all it takes is one, you know, one encounter that shouldn't have happened for everybody's lives globally to be at danger here, and that's really the odds, and that's the stakes. Uh, Not to sound, you know, unsympathetic to, obviously that is reality for you right now, so can totally understand why wouldn't you want every tool at everybody's disposal to be deployed to stop the loss of innocent lives. In terms of the Zelensky, he has been, man, quite a hero. As I mentioned earlier, he's somebody who went from being a comedian, as you know, to an actor playing the president of Ukraine on TV, to later the president of Ukraine. Uh, how much does he mean to you, your friends, the Ukrainian people? What did you think of him before this? What do you think of him now?
To be honest, their team, this is a comedian team, and they used to be my favorite ones since my childhood, since I was 3 or 4, and I had no idea what they were talking about, but that I just fell in love with their looks. They were all young and and handsome, and Zelensky was the captain of the team, and I was growing up having this kind of admiration for him. And then as I was getting older, I was filling up with all those ideas about how my country could be improved, and I was starting to become hesitant about his intentions and how he would act as a president. And I also thought that he didn't have enough expertise or knowledge to go up and be a president of our country. But at the point when he was a candidate to be a president, we all thought that our country needs something different, and we were all desperate for a change. And I had all the doubts, but I did go there and I voted for him, and then. I have to admit that later I would feel guilty about that, because we felt that still not enough was being done for our country, and that it could have progressed much faster. And then this war happened, and it changed everything. It turned all the things upside down, and we're looking at our president, and we are ready to kill for him, because we see how it's coming from his heart. All his efforts to defend our people, he restless he's restless in his efforts to do whatever they can for Ukraine and for the whole of Europe in the end. Um, he constantly talks, negotiates with other countries, and we have so much respect for him right now. You know how, like, people people's true nature is often
Yeah.
seen in the hardest of times. And I guess it's this situation that allowed us to actually see him for who he is. And he is such a strong and powerful man, and I really believe that there is no other way. We will win, and it will be largely because of him, because of his efforts.
One thing that I really admired that he did was, I think it was the day perhaps before the invasion, was he spoke in Russian directly to the Russian people. You know, just trying to say, "Hey, we're not your enemies. I grew up, I think going to Russian, sporting events, etc., going to the cafe and really trying to relate to the people. We're your friends, we're your comrades. We know we love you. We don't hate you. We don't want no ill will towards you. I really, really, I mean, obviously not effective given that repressive regime that doesn't even let information in Russia. But I really admired that tactic, and it felt like he was just pouring his heart was on his sleeve, and he was just trying to impassionately speak to those people. I believe you, if I'm not mistaken, you know a lot of Russian people. You have a lot of Russian friends. You deal with a lot of Russians in your work life previous to this. Everybody that I've spoken to so far, which has been about a dozen or so content creators that I'm friends with, have had the same kind of attitude of, I don't believe a word of what Putin says. I think that we're wrong. However, I'm afraid to kind of speak out about it given the own limitations of free speech here in the country. However, that is a very limited demographic. These are creators in their, teens and 20s for the most part. The people that you speak to, what has been the predominant, theme there? How would you characterize those conversations? What do they think about what's going on?
Oh God, I've had so many heated discussions over the past couple of weeks. Uh, Certainly, there are people in Russia who understand what's going on and try to do whatever they can to stop it. And it's just the thing is that it's a miserable number of people, considering that they have 140 million uh, population there, and you see only thousands of them going on protests and trying to show their government that they are against this horrible thing that is happening. And obviously, I have a couple of friends from this country that try to support us, and some of them had to leave this country because they see no future for it, and there will be no future for it because this is what's supposed to happen to a country that does this to innocent people. But I just I'm filled with so much anger and hopelessness for the majority of people there. I see how, like, this whole propaganda thing. They claim that it's us who are lying and trying to show how we are suffering. And but the logical thing is, why would you ban all the social media
Yeah.
and beat up all those people who go on peaceful protests and try to show that they do not agree with their government? Why would you beat them up and pack them in like police trucks and do it with women and children as well, if unless you have something to hide? Ukraine, we are free to say whatever we want. We are free to say Russian warship go to hell. We can say whatever we want, we can do whatever we want. There is no censorship there, while the censorship in Russia is beyond all the imaginable measure, marks.
How do the people that you speak to reconcile that? To me, given my obviously my worldview, which is easy to say for me, of course, similar to you, I really value freedom of speech, right? Obviously, it's at the core of what a lot of people that I know believe in. So, how do the Russian people that you know, the Belarusian people that you know, how do they reconcile the fact that they're not even allowed to speak? Isn't that a red flag? Shouldn't that be a red flag to maybe I should at least second guess the veracity of the information that's being thrown my way? How they respond to that line of questioning?
It should be, and it has to be, and it's just it's horrible to see them just trying to get to make their peace with what is going on with their country. Just yesterday, they shut down Instagram for the whole of the country, and instead of going on the streets and protesting against that, they just, well, we'll just switch to Telegram and not do anything about that. And isn't this cowardice? Isn't this position of, well, I'm going to suffer but stay in this country and put up with the government that has have proclaimed themselves to be gods and decide other people's fates.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just it's really
No.
hard to refrain from being angry with these people. And I don't know why Instagram does that, but there's the section with recommendations, and I see a lot of like Russian influencers trying to pretend that nothing is happening. They just keep posting selfies and photos from resorts and pictures of their clothes. They're just making some silly
Yeah.
comments instead of like, my country is killing innocent people, is ruining other country. I have to do something about that. And it's a definite sign of like, you know, how these people are not doing, are not realize, do not realize what is actually going on.
Absolutely. And they are feeling a little bit more pain, obviously, due to economic sanctions to other things such as luxuries. I mean, this is a gaming channel here that I'm speaking to you on. So even game developers, a lot of game developers, Plarium, Supercell, etc., are limiting or banning Russian and Belarusian players. What are your overall thoughts on sanctioning and limiting and punishing Russian people? Do you think that can be an effective method, or how do you feel about that?
As kind and generous as I always try to be, I know that it's the right thing to do. It's the only way to show them that they have to rise against their government, their officials, to show that their country cannot stay that way anymore. And we have to suppress them with whatever we can just to make them go on the streets and do something about that, because they keep saying that we have nothing to do with this war. Uh, we didn't choose it. We are not the ones who go there and shoot at you. But it's your government, and either way, you have chosen to allow it to be your government, and you didn't do anything about that. Because in our country, when we felt that that we are not moving in the right direction and we have to overthrow our government, we did that. We went on the streets, we died there, but we did that. Uh, and it was a revolution, and it's what's supposed to happen when you realize that this kind of evil cannot go on and that you have to do something about that. um, and as much as I feel empathy to those people in Russia who actually realize that and who are willing to do whatever they can for their country to stop, um, I still think it's the right solution, because we need the rest to join them.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can see definitely both sides. You can, obviously I feel for people who are put into any sort of pain because of
They
a
have to,
tyrant. But
they
at the
have
same
to
time, you guys are literally dying, and you didn't choose to do that either, right? So,
They
go
have
on.
to realize that if the whole world is fighting for us, then the truth is on our side, because there's no way that there's a world conspiracy against Russians. Like they claim that this Russophobia is spreading, and they
Yeah.
don't understand why. How can you not understand why when like the just go on the internet and look at independent media sources instead of your government channels.
Yeah, even some of their closest allies in the past, I'm thinking of like Kazakhstan, Turkey, and stuff are speaking out vehemently against this. So
Yeah.
I think that at the very least, that ought to be some sort of a signal to the Russian people if they're only able to actually access the information. I wanted to ask. Obviously, you're not in political office or a decision maker, but you are a citizen of Ukraine. So I want to ask, in order to stop the loss of life, right? In order to stop things and de-escalate at this point, do you think the mentality right now on the ground is we are not going to give up anything, or do you think the mentality is okay, maybe, Crimea breaks away, or some of the, some of the old separatist regions, and that's something that you guys can potentially agree to? Or is it more, no, you've killed and destroyed us, exit our country, and that's the only, that's the only way that you guys would be happy at this point?
In the ideal world, we need the whole of our country back because all of the territories were annexed in an unfair, unjustified way, and it should never have happened. However, I do realize under the circumstances that we might go for a compromise, and I'm not. I won't pretend that I know a lot about politics. I surely completely trust our president and
Hmm.
his close colleagues for us to decide the future of our country. But there is no way that Russians will win in any way. Not at this point, not now. Even if they apply like millions of resources, send millions more people here, there is no way they will ever succeed. They will face with insurgents and partisan wars. We will never give up. We will never be under their flag. It's just a silly thing to imagine. There are myths that led them to this war, and one of them is that even some of our regions would welcome them. They now understand that it's not going to happen, and the 24th of March is approaching, and it's going to be a 1 month of this war
Yeah.
taking place. And we do realize that they need to submit some kind of a report and show their country that they are succeeding here, and they need to show that they have taken at least one big city. So we understand that the next week or two are going to be really tough because they will be trying to capture whatever they can. But already at this point, we do understand that they are not going to get what they want, at least not in any of a fair or honest ways, because we know that they are famous for applying all the lying techniques and capturing our atomic stations and blackmailing us with that, and blackmailing the whole world with that.
A lot of wisdom in that answer, and it's got to be very difficult, because I think that at this point, all you must want to do is really, or at least I would, is just kind of have revenge, after all the suffering that you've seen. So to be willing to go to the table and have trust to essentially, again, in your leadership, it says a lot about you and the Ukrainian people, just to end this suffering and this madness, really. My final question for you is, Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning talks about how even during the darkest times in humanity, right, with death and suffering all around us, can also be unique opportunities to see the best of humanity, right? To see, heroes can emerge and kindness can prevail. Do you have any stories, not to put you on the spot, stories or anecdote or anything that you've seen that has really already had a lasting impact on you in terms of shows of humanity or anything like that?
It's a good question, and I do agree um, with the saying that the darkest time revealed the most true nature in people. And I admire all of my friends and colleagues who try to do their best to protect their loved ones. They don't leave their pets behind, which is really an important thing for me, because I will just show you. This is what I brought with me from Kharkiv, and
Big fluff ball. Yeah.
I would never have left him behind. So I know all the extremities that my friends go to save their pets and not leave them behind. I have a close friend, and she's also my colleague. She has this huge dog, and For the first 2 weeks, her mom and her and this dog and their cat hid in a very small basement. And then when they realized that they can't stay there any longer because their house really shook hard after one of the airstrikes, they had to leave and they took a train to Lviv, and all those trains are now overcrowded. There is no place to sit. They People have to stand for more than 24 hours just to get there. Still, she didn't leave her dog behind, and she took him with her. And then they went to they came to the west, and there are already a lot of problems with finding a place to stay, and a lot of owners don't welcome such big dogs in their residences. So she had to go for she had to take a lot of trouble to find a place to stay, and there was even danger that at some point they would have to spend a night on the street, but she still managed to find a place. It just shows like how much we value what is dear to us here. And I have so many stories of volunteers, how they like put their lives at risk but still drive in their cars trying to deliver medication or food to the people who stay there, because a lot of people can't even go down to their basements when it's an airstrike coming because they're paralyzed or handicapped or whatever. And somebody has to take care of them. In my apartment building, most of the young people and most of the people with kids left in the very first days of war, but we have this chat with all the residents of the building, and most of them are like over 50. And it's just amazing how they try to take care of each other. Every day they ask each other how they're doing, who needs help, and they coordinating who can bring water or who can go to the supermarket and deliver some food for the neighbors that can't move or that are that don't have the ability to go out on the street. And it's just amazing how this whole thing brought us together. Um, I'm sorry, it's
No,
it's
no, I
really
think
hard to
that's
speak without my voice trembling here.
no, absolutely, and it's
Uh,
harrowing, but it's also touching. To your point, to think about those people and how they, uh, I feel like all the things that we worry about, that we think about on a daily basis, it must put everything into perspective, right? Whether you're worrying about, celebrity gossip, or, oh, I have more followers on Instagram, to your point earlier, and or just whatever it may be, whatever you worried about a month or 2 months ago, I imagine it almost seems silly at this point.
yeah, it's at this point we realized that our happiness was in just waking up to a
Yeah,
quiet morning, and
peace.
realizing that our loved ones are in not in danger. Um, the whole world will never be the same for us after this war. And I just the last thing that I wanted to say is there are no gray areas right now. Everyone has to choose their sides. It's like the seventh book of Harry Potter. It's the ultimate battle of good and evil. And you see this trend of all big companies leaving the Russian market, and
Hmm.
everyone else has to follow this suit, because it will be shameful after what is happening to stay there, unless they decide right now that it all needs to stop and they withdraw their troops from our land.
I totally agree with you, Jana, and it's you know anybody who's okay or can justify in any way any sort of invasion, war, military on a peaceful sovereign nation is not cool with me. It's just not right. There's no words, as it's you struggle to really shake people almost who are seeing through this through a lens other than the atrocities that are actually happening right now on the ground. So hey, it's been an hour. Thank you so much for being so generous of your time. I know, as I mentioned earlier, there are a couple links. I'm sure a lot of my viewers want to help you and your countrymen. Voices of Children, Direct Relief. Those links will be in the first two lines of the description here, also in the pinned comment. Anything else that we can do, Jana, for you, for your colleagues, for the Ukrainian people? What else can we do? It's to me, it's frustrating. Donating feels so impersonable. I want to almost open up my house to have people come live with me who need to, but even that I can't really do right now. So what more can I do? Can we do?
I think at this point, it's enough to come to an understanding of how crucial these times are, and that our country is fighting for the good of the whole world, and our country is a small place with the biggest hearts on earth. And what everyone else can do is, I don't know, give shelter to our people who have fled the country because trying to protect their lives, to go and protest. But I would say the most important thing is not to let this whole situation become mundane. How,
Yeah.
like, I don't know how much longer it is going to last, because it may go on for months, God forbid, years. It's not something that you can just wave off and say that, I've been worried for some time, but there is a point where you have to forget about it and move on, because everyone needs to realize that we are in a lot of pain here, and we are suffering, and our cities, our whole lives are being destroyed. And it's us who found themselves to be in this spot right now, but it could be any other country. It could happen to anyone. And I think everyone would wish the whole world to unite for them and come to their rescue if, God forbid, it happened to your country.
Absolutely. And I think that anybody watching this right now, watching this conversation, listening to this conversation, if they have a heart, certainly recognizes that and stands by you and your people. So, Jana, thank you so much again. Sending as much love and empathy as I possibly can to you, and like I said, your friends, your loved ones, and the people on the ground there in Ukraine. Definitely stay in touch. I would love to update my viewers if I can throughout the next weeks and months, just to make sure that you're okay and that your family's okay. Obviously, wishing the best for you personally and your mom and your cat. So, thank you again, and again, wishing for peace here.
Thank you very much, Tim.
No problem.